Hi there. These comments are for MB. I am Michael from bettertoeflscores.com, and I'm looking at the essay that you completed at my website, the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT. I read it. I'm going to put you at 4.25 out of 5, 28 points out of 30. So after reading the essay and looking at the rubrics here, I think you're between 4 and 5 right now. The response is well organized. Occasional language errors that are present do not result in the inaccurate or imprecise presentation of content. It says in 4, a response that has more frequent or noticeable minor language errors, as long as such usage and grammar structures do not result in anything more than the occasional lapse of clarity in the connection of ideas. You're even better than that. So I think 28 is where I'm going to sit with this essay right now. Well, here it is. Now, let's take a look at what Microsoft Word thinks about your writing. And this is something that ETS will be using. They'll be using eRater to get a general idea. Don't worry about misspellings. I don't think misspellings are a big problem. As long as we can see what you're writing, it's fine. You got a couple of grammar errors. There's more than that in there. Okay, so what do we have here? This is important. The thing I want you to be careful about, words per sentence, you have 20.3, which is a little bit low. Your characters per word is really high at 5. That's good. Your grade level is a little low at 11.7, so your next essay, I want you to shoot for a grade level of 13 to 14. So I think that's important because ETS uses eRater. It's an artificial scoring engine that will also look at all these things I'm looking at. It's going to look at your grammar. It's going to look at your vocabulary, your sentence length. All of those things will become important. So eRater might have a little bit of trouble with what you wrote. Okay, so my suggestions in terms of looking at the essay, I know you haven't paid for an error correction, and I'm not going to do that right now, but I'm just going to show you a couple of things here. I like how you put the collected data in this study shows results of the study suggest regarding the cost of older employees, most people assume. You might put something like that in there. Just make sure that each paragraph includes a voice marker that traces back to the reading passage. So I think that would help show the connection of ideas a little bit better. But what's bothering me is you're putting a comma after your verb and before a noun clause. You don't want to do that. So this study shows, right, there's no comma needed, that agism is a widely spread phenomenon across society. And then we have the lecturer reacts to the results of the studies by trying to prove, again, there's no comma needed here, that the common assumptions about older workers are actually misconceptions. The assumptions and misconceptions that are based on these false views, okay, here, in this case, we have to use which, because if you're using the comma after misconceptions and after views, you're looking at this as what's called a non-restrictive element. More specifically, this is a non-restrictive adjective clause, and non-restrictive adjective clauses have to use which and not that, right? But this thesis is absolutely incredible. The assumptions and misconceptions, which are based on these false views, are about 3 key points: the productivity, entrepreneurship, and cost of older workers. So that really frames your body paragraphs. And then in the body paragraphs, you spend part of the paragraph talking about the reading passage, than the other part of the paragraph talking about the lecture. So you do a really good job, I think, framing, I think, in a chunking style, the most important information from both the reading passage and the lecture. So I want you to be careful about your punctuation. So look what you regarding the cost of older employees, most people assume, explains this study, that you have occupying elderlies is more expensive that and the comma's okay here because we have the voice marker here, but if I just said most people assume, I would not put a comma and then say that. Okay, so if you want to review this, if you go into the grammar part of my course, I do have a couple of really good videos about using punctuation, but be really, really careful. I think it's, I can't remember, grammar lesson 20 something. But the most important rule I'm going to teach you right now about using commas is when in doubt, leave commas out. So if you don't know whether or not to use a comma, it's typically a better idea not to put it in there than put the comma in the wrong part of the sentence, because then it disrupts the structure of your sentence. But having said all of that, all of these comments, I still think that this essay is around 28 out of 30 points. I still believe that. And I believe if you follow some of my suggestions and you make a few minor changes with your writing, I think that you can get your writing on this particular task at 5.0 out of 5, 30 out of 30 points. I really believe that. That's why I'm taking time to do this, because I think it's if you can get 30 points in the writing, that will definitely say a lot about your English proficiency abilities. It will put you at the top 1% of all test takers in the entire world.